York State now will send people to a state university without tuition.
Oh, it wasn't that way when I went. When you
No.
went to the state, you had to pay.
Okay, honey. Amanda
Okay,
Amanda has got the work up to date 14 days out of 18.
that's good. That's good. So I'll let you get back to work.
Yes, and thank you for your cheerful call.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye-bye, hon.
Bye.
So here you and I are all alone, right? Amanda's gone up to get the mail. Let me sing that song to you again. I think it will help us all. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Open our eyes that we may see glimpses of truth thou hast for us. Place in our hands that wonderful key that will unlock and set us free. Silently now we wait for thee. Ready, our God, thy will to see. Open our eyes, illumine us, Spirit divine. That particularly applies to me. My eyes are open, but they aren't illumined. I can't see anything. Isn't it wonderful? Even after blindness, you have the joy of God, or you have the joy of helping others. That's really all it amounts to, helping others. Let's see if we have any jokes we can tell you. Oh.
I got the mail, I got the mail, I got the mail, I got the mail. I sing a song about the mail, because we got the mail. Alright, let's see if we're still recording, Glennie. I think we're still recording. So you just got Mandy's song on camera. Yes, you sure did got Mandy's song on camera as I sing to you, Glennie.
Is the camera still on,
It
honey?
is, we are still rolling, babe.
I think the people have had enough.
Probably.
They haven't had their inoculation, so you better let them go. There's a great big white folder. Hi, folks. A great big white folder.
Yes,
It says
okay.
GVC, Glendora Vegetarian.
Okay.
Oh, folks, you don't know how happy I am. Guess who's sitting beside us right now?
Not yet.
My friend, Sandra Blakeman, and she is a Montessori school teacher, and she believes in Montessori teaching with all of her heart, soul, and mind. Hi, Sandy.
Hello, Glendora.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Oh, good, dear. Did you have a tiring day with 21 children?
I did. Daylight savings time is getting the better of me.
Yeah, that is so, folks. Yes, that is so. And were the children noisy today?
No, they weren't very noisy, but it was raining when it was time to go out for recess, so we didn't go outside.
Just another drip outside, right?
Yeah.
And did they say anything funny?
No one said anything funny today, Glendora. I'm sorry to report.
Now, when you were a little girl growing up in New Jersey, and your daddy was working for the New York Times, right?
Yes,
And
he
your
was.
your mommy was a substitute teacher, right?
Well, not until later. When I was a young child, my mother was home.
Yeah.
She didn't go back to
But-
teaching until I was in high school.
The interesting fact, folks, is that that's back in the day when Sandy could come home to lunch. Tell us about that. From school, from lunch, she could go.
Well, at the school that I went to, all of the children walked to and from school. Not all of the children. There were a few who came by bus, but most of the children walked back and forth to school. And we had a substantial lunch break, probably at least an hour, possibly longer. So it would have taken me about 15 minutes to walk home and 15 minutes to walk back and half an hour to eat lunch with my mother and my dog.
Oh, your
It was
dog?
very nice. Yes.
What kind of a dog, honey?
A toy poodle.
Oh,
Toby Tyler.
And then didn't you have a little routine as you went by the shrubs and the different plants that you?
Yes, I had quite an exciting walk, just to and from school. Uh, Leaving my house to go to school, we would go up an avenue, and some of the sidewalk was very broken up into pieces. Some of it was brand new sidewalk, but some had pieces, so we would play sort of a hopscotch game, trying to jump in between the cracks along the sidewalk. And then we'd come to a little split rail fence, and we would climb up on the fence, and we'd walk the length of the fence across that yard. And then after the split rail fence, there was a wrought iron fence that you could take a stick and run the stick along along the iron fence, and it would make quite a satisfying sound. And then you came to a cement wall fence that the avenue was somewhat on a slight hill, so as you went further along the avenue, you'd come to this cement fence that was in tiers, and you could climb up onto it and walk along it and get higher and higher, and then when you got to the top, you'd have to jump down, and it was maybe 6 feet off the ground at that point.
No.
Yes.
And here, what grade are you in, dear?
Oh, well, we did this from kindergarten through 8th grade. It was all the same school.
Oh, really?
Yes, so, but on the way back, you could climb up onto the wall by using the people's front steps to get up there. And then at the end of the wall, there was a post office box, so you'd sit on the post office box and slide down. It was a very short slide, only lasted for a few seconds. But that was fun. And then by the time we'd done all that, we were at the corner where the crossing guard would get us safely across a busy street. And then I had a choice of continuing straight and going back downhill, or turning right and going along the busy road where a lot of chestnut trees grew.
Chestnut?
Chestnut trees, yes. And so if I walked along the busy road, I could pick up horse chestnuts.
Oh, aren't they beautiful?
They are beautiful, and I just love
elegant.
the feeling of those.
Yeah,
And
elegant.
so I and other children like to collect those. And sometimes you'd find the whole
Yeah, with the great big prickly around it.
yeah, the prickly, and you had to try to get the horse chestnut out of the prickly without getting pricked.
Yeah.
And so those were really fun, and you could go a whole block collecting those as you went.
And there would be one time of the year, Sandy, when the horse chestnut would be blossoming. Remember those beautiful candies?
Yes, those
They look
beautiful.
like hyacinths.
Yes, they do.
Didn't they look
yes.
like hyacinths?
Yeah, those were lovely. Yeah. At the end of that block, I would be at the top of what in my town they called Tank Hill.
What?
They called it Tank Hill, so I suppose at one time there may have been a water tank.
Oh.
There would have been the highest point in town,
Oh, okay.
but there was no water tank there in my youth.
The time is 6 p.m. Hourly reminder.
Thank you, dear Google. Google tells me the time on the hour all day long, and that's a help when you can't see, let me tell you. So, we interrupted you.
Well, at the corner of, at the top of Tank Hill, where the town's main avenue and the street that I'd been walking on met, there was a gas station, so you could cut through the gas station, and sometimes on a good day there'd be a mechanic in the garage working on cars, which would be very interesting. So you'd wave to the people working at the gas station, and then enter the little mini pine forest with big towering pine trees right on the corner, and you could,
One?
no, I'd say between 3 and 5
Wow.
enormous pine trees right on the corner at the top of the hill. And if you were early enough, you could sit in there under the quiet of the pine trees,
On what?
just on the ground.
Oh,
Sit on
okay.
the ground and collect some pine cones. And then you'd start back downhill because the school was at the bottom of the hill.
Yes.
So first you had to go uphill, then you had to get downhill to get to the school. And
Which way are we going, Sandy? Are we going to school or are we going home?
Well, I'm going to school,
Oh, okay.
and so I'm coming back downhill, and passing by Mrs. Norton's rose garden, where she had a beautiful English rose garden with all different sorts of roses in it, and sometimes she would be out there, pruning the roses.
Really?
Yes.
She had a beautiful rose
Right in
garden?
her front yard, where other people would have grass, she had just all roses, beautiful roses.
And what was her name?
Mrs. Norton, yes, and she was a nice, friendly lady, and yeah, so to say hello to her, and then go the last last few yards to the corner, and the crossing guard would cross us over to the school, and that was it.
Oh, I love the memory. I just love it. And then coming home, it was just
Well, coming home, I could take a different route, and on that route there was a newly paved road that on a hot day would be full of tar bubbles. The asphalt would have,
Oh, really?
yes, they would patch in the cracks with tar, and those would bubble up into great big bubbles, and you could take a stick and poke them, and a very satisfying splash of warm water would come out.
I like the smell of it. Do you?
I did as a child. I don't know if I like it still, but if you couldn't find a stick, then of course you had to stick your finger into it, or the toe of your shoes, and then you'd get in trouble when you got home.
Indeed.
But that coming that way was nice, because right after you got off the road with all the tar bubbles was a whole row of a split rail fence with roses growing all along it, very thick, beautiful red roses, and you could take the petals that had fallen on the ground and feel those between your fingers, or rub them against your cheek, and
Oh.
yeah, and you could smell the roses as you walked along, and then we were heading back downhill, and doing all the same things that we'd done on the way there,
Oh,
but in reverse.
But in reverse.
In reverse,
mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun. It was a fun walk.
Yeah, very precious memories, right?
Yes.
And I guess you wouldn't forgetting have to done from kindergarten to ninth grade, 8th grade.
That's right.
What was the name of the town?
The town that I grew up in is called Haworth, in Haworth, New Jersey.
How do you spell it?
Haworth.
Haworth.
Haworth,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
It looks like you would say Hayworth, but
Yeah.
they pronounce it Haworth.
Yeah. And how old? Well, you would be 6 years old to.
Yeah, starting when I was 5, and I guess to about 12, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you folks moved there, 'cause your daddy worked up in Manitoba. You lived in Manitoba? No.
I lived in Kapuskasing, Ontario. My parents were from Manitoba, but when I was born, they lived in Ontario.
Oh, they did.
Yes, they lived in Kapuskasing.
Is that near Toronto?
Toronto is a big city in Ontario. Yes.
But I
So-
mean the town that you lived in?
No, it's further north. Kapuskasing's pretty far north. There was a lumber mill there, paper mill.
And when your daddy came to the New York Times, how old were you?
I was 4 when we came to
Yeah.
Well, was I? No. Let me think now. No, I was 2 or 3, and then we lived, before we came to Haworth, when we came to Haworth I was 4, so we lived other places before we came to the town where I grew
I
up.
shouldn't think you would remember those.
I don't remember those. I only remember the house that
Yeah.
we rented before we bought our house, that was a great place to live, because that street ended at a wooded lot that went downhill, and when you went through the woods to the bottom of the hill, you were at the zoo, the Vanson Park Zoo. And of course, that was a wonderful place for families to go and have a picnic and see the animals. And I was too little to go there without my parents, but
Yeah.